AppliedHE Xchange Professional Higher Education. My name is Mandy Mock and I am the founder and CEO of AppliedHE. AppliedHE is the new kid on the block as an international higher education service provider that specializes in evaluation, branding, and professional networking solutions. This AppliedHE Exchange webinar is a special initiative to bridge the divide between skills-based and general higher education, a trend which we've dubbed professional higher education or professional HE. Until quite recently, you had one world of higher education that sat in their ivory towers, doing groundbreaking research and educating only the elites. Then in another universe, there were the practical training courses, polytechnics, TVETs, technical colleges, whatever you want to call it. At AppliedHE, we want the best of both worlds. Professional and higher education embraces the focus on industry and learning from the skills-based tradition while adopting groundbreaking new technologies. To us, this is the future of higher education. The AppliedHE Exchange Professional Higher Education is one step in this direction. The other is our new AppliedHE Job Ready Rating System, which is a unique evaluation tool that is suitable for the entire spectrum of the higher education sector, from humble polytechnics to the institutions at the top of the university ranking tables. The digitization of skills-based education is one of the great challenges of the professional higher education sector, and it is a challenge that has become extremely urgent with the current shift towards online teaching and learning. Yesterday, we heard speakers on the policy perspective, and today we will focus on the practitioner perspective of digitization in skills-based education. Chairing today's webinar is Mrs. Winnie Ely, partner of Education Insight UK. She will introduce our panel of speakers to you shortly. We're very grateful that all of you were able to find the time to join us for today's webinar. So without further ado, allow me to hand over to Winnie.
Thank you, Mandy, and hello and welcome to AppliedHE Exchange. Professional higher education is a special webinar, as Mandy said, that explores the challenges facing skills-based higher education. Today we explore, from a practitioner perspective, digitization of skills-based education, threats, delusion, or panacea. For delegates who joined us yesterday, welcome back. With us today is another prestigious, global, and experienced expert panel. Our first speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Jomhong Mohamvanit, is an advisor and chairman emeritus of Association of Colleges of Technology and Vocational Education of Thailand under royal patronage in Thailand. Associate Professor Dr. Jomhong Mohamvanit, the next 3 minutes is all yours.
Thank you, and thanks for the honor to invite me to join your forum, and congratulations, Mandy, for this initiative. We have met a few months ago, and eventually you did so many things. And I think right now, I think it's a good time for the reinvention of the higher education as well. Thank you, Winnie, for your kind introduction. I think this is the right time for rethinking about higher education because of COVID-19. After COVID-19, we see that this is the booster of digitalization and also the booster of the new kind of skill-based education. In Thailand, we find that we have the lockdown during March to July, and this is no option. We have to put everything on digitalization, even we like or dislike. So we have been on digitalization, just a week, and the impossible is possible. Everyone on the same phrase. People use Zoom, people use everything, and we communicate with students, and we also develop our faculty members only a week or so to do the job. We understand that, I think right now students and faculty members are familiar with all the tools, but efficiency, effectiveness is another thing. And also we have the dilemma as well for many courses, because faculty members always argue that whether it is good for skill-based education to be digitalized, but we have no option. So, things have to be digitalized, but we find a way to do that. And we also have opportunity to work with many tools like Microsoft Teams, like different tools, including the government of Thailand, which also help us with digitalization, also help us with the professional qualification framework to be digitalized. We have the Professional Qualification Institute, which is the public organization doing the e-learning for us. We have the government who help us on the on-air programs on different kind of uh, professional development. And with the unemployment, this is like the great opportunity for, I think, for all of us to think about how to reskill people, from in Thailand. Many of you know that we suffer a lot from tourism industry because we heavily rely on tourism industry and export industry. We find millions of people lost their job, and this is the right time for every partners, universities, school, government, to do courses online, to re-educate them, to reskill them, and eventually to test them and give them competency. But we, however, find that in many programs, the hybrid would be also a very good option. In Thailand, we are quite lucky because after July, most of the time we have zero infection inside the country. We sometimes have the COVID-19 infection, but from the state quarantine. So we always have the option to do hybrid mode, and we usually do that. One good thing is that for the digitalization, so we can find that some people in the rural area, some people in some distant area can learn, our content easily, and also we have greater reach to different people in different sector as well. Also people in the industry also can learn from digitalization without leaving that job to to attend colleges. So I find that the question is the threat, the delusion, or panacea? I think it is not the threat, because I think it's quite the booster of the possibility. Is it the delusion? I'm not certain, but I'm certain it's solution of something is panacea, and it's also solution and remedy of something. But I think we also have to relearn about how we do digitalization of skill-based education more efficiently. So I think when we have some more time, and we have learned from the expert like all of you, we can better equip with our knowledge and our experiences through the exchange to do it better, more efficient, and to do with some competency test to find that the students have the competency required for the skill-based education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chung Hong, and a hybrid approach that you found absolutely useful, and I think something that we can discuss further later on. So thank you very much. Speaking next is Ms. Grace Apondititi, Chief Vocational Trainer, Ramangi Institute of Advanced Technology in Kenya. Ms. Grace Apondititi, the stage is all yours in the next 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Winnie, for the opportunity. My name has been introduced. I come from Kenya in a tertiary institution based in Kisumu. So as a practitioner, we are privileged to have a supporting government. The Kenya system of education is divided into different sections, and TVET is under a state department, whereby the government has put a lot of emphasis in the TVET education. As a result of high level of youth unemployment and the changing labor market, the government realized that for it to achieve its vision 2030, it has to put emphasis in skills development. So the current TVET system focuses on competency-based education and training, and this has exposed the trainees to think logically. It has also enabled them to analyze concepts and apply their insights. Every year, the TVET system of education, we normally have what is called TVET Fair, where trainees are exposed to new technologies and they are supposed to come up with innovations which are exhibited through a TVET fair. By this, the trainees keep on changing the way they do things. And this has necessitated the trainers also to update their skills in order to match these rapid changes in technology. And it is notable that digital technologies have presented new opportunities in many areas, and individuals have the right to set up their skills to make meaningful use of these technologies. So as a trainer, we are required to keep on updating our skills. And categorically, I would say that the digital skills are in 3 different areas. We have people who come up with applications. They also develop programs, and other people have to be there to use these technologies. So what happens? There are people to use, there are people to develop, and there are people to perform tasks with such technologies. So what happens in my situation as a trainer? You find that the trainers have perceived digital technology differently at different level within the TVET sector. There are people who feel that this is a threat. The reason is not that they know anything about it, but they think that if they happen to accept digitization, they are going to change the way they operate, and they are going to have extra work, which they are not ready for. And maybe the element of monitoring will be too much on them because there's evidence that you have taught or you have not taught. But others see it as delusion. Why do I say this? This is just a mere belief. Some people believe that this thing cannot work. And why is it not working? It's not working because they don't want to change. But to others, it is an opportunity. And the current scenario, that is what we have now, the COVID-19 pandemic, has forced people to change their way of doing things. And currently, the government of Kenya, in partnership with UNESCO and Microsoft, they are implementing a program whereby we should have remote learning in TVET institutions. And I'm privileged to be a team member of the technical team implementing the same. And currently, we have trained more than 50% of TVET trainers on how to conduct digital learning remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams and PowerPoint that is blended with the video and audio. So you find that we are going to have continuity in learning, and a number of institutions are happy about the initiative, not because there's something new that has been added, but because the scenario which has presented itself has forced them to shift the way of doing things from what they were used to what is currently being offered. So my question is, what is our take in our countries or as an individual? Is digitization of skill-based education a threat, delusion, or panacea to your countries? To whom does this apply? Does it apply to the trainer, to the trainee, or the graduate? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace, for giving us a sense of how technology is moving in Kenya. So, but thank you for posing those questions as well. I'm sure you will attract quite a lot of questions and answers later on. Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Callistus Chong, Senior Director at School of Design and Media, AppliedHE College Central in Singapore. Mr. Callistus Chong, your 3 minutes start now.
You're muted, Callistus. Very sorry.
Yes, okay, yeah. Hi, good evening. Just delighted to share with you my personal experiences as well as my personal views. After setting up and running design and media school for the last 12 years at the Institute of Technical Education, Singapore. Obviously, the School of Design Media is actually a skills-based education. And if you look at the background of our topic, I would look at the word digitalization. What drives digitization? In fact, it is the microprocessor. So digitization has happened long ago. And it's been doubling in computing speed for twice every 2 years. And it has been driving the whole knowledge economy transition from the agriculture to industrial to now the knowledge economy. And it's been exponential. The difference, I would say, is that we are at a tipping point where the speed of processing is at a level where valuable services are being produced now. So that's really where we are now. And as it continues to exponentially increase, then the more and more functionalities can be put together or created. And therefore, we are really, in that sense, in the tipping point. So the first thing about digitalization is to realize that the processing power is a stage where meaningful applications are there. And then the second thing which really made the tipping point tip was the COVID-19 pandemic. And that basically accelerated the adoption, right? In the sense that if you do not want to have too high touch or too close proximity with another person to be safe, then you adopt technology. And that is really when the digitization at tipping point has tipped. Okay, so that's the background. If you look at the focus of what I'd like to share, if you look at the policy talks about goals of education or the digitization of skill-based learning education goals and enablers. But as a practitioner, I don't look at that. That becomes my starting point. But my end point is impact and outcome. So I'd like to share impact and outcome in 4 areas. One is industry, student impact, staff impact, and system impact. So you look at industry. When I set up the school, what I had to do was I had to look at what the state of industry is, which part of the value chain of the industry is growing, and therefore what manpower development needs to be met. And then from there, what kind of training to be to deliver so that the learners, the population or my students can be job ready. An example of that, the impact of digitization, we started animation. It was 2D animation. We used the Toon software. And then the market shifted to 3D animation, obviously because the processing power has gone up due to digitization. So we use Autodesk. And then the market moved where we say, where the Singapore now, to compete, you need to do your storyboarding, your character design. Production has meanwhile moved out for animation production. And so now you look at the animation skills being used for communication. So that's where we talk about impact of digitalization. Is in the area of industry is that we have to look at the impact to ensure the impact continues to be relevant. As for students, the preparation for them is to be life ready, to be prepared for life, right? So for the industry, you prepare them for the industry, but you need to prepare the students for life so that they can contribute. And really the goal is that we understand who they are, how they learn. And if you just imagine at probably some of our times, we have the fixed phone line, and then we got a mobile phone, which is then digitalized, right? And then you get the smartphone and then iPad and yeah, the whole works come. So that accelerates exponentially the opportunity for learning for students. And third, you talk about staff. Staff, I would say the key thing in outcome of impact in this context of digitalization is whether the staff can continue to make a personal contact to care for the students, right? So if you look at what digitalization does, it really broadens the gap, right? From face to face, where you can connect, you can care for the students. And then when digitalization comes, then the challenge is how to still use the digital tools and still connect. So that's really the impact they need to make. And finally, we look at the system. as digitization happens, as functionality change, and change exponentially. So the tools exponentially change, industry changes exponentially. So the best antidote you can have to manage that for lifelong of change is the system needs to provide lifelong learning. So that's the fourth impact you can have. So the conclusion is digitization a threat? I say no. Delusion, no. Panacea, no. But I would say it's an opportunity to grow, and not just grow, but grow exponentially in the industry, in the country, your students' life, quality of life, to grow exponentially your staff caring, care and concern, and for the system to grow so that it can still deliver lifelong learning. So for me, it is an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Callister Chung. You use one particular area that we're taking for granted in terms of media and also design, and
yes,
the things that you know technically to take us through that journey. Thank you. And it's opportunity, like you said. So moving on, Professor Dr. Rina Asari, Vice Dean of Student and Academic Affairs at Airlangga University in Indonesia. We'll have her 3 minutes next. Professor Dr. Rina Asari, please.
Yeah. Thank you very
You're on mute.
No?
Can you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Winnie. And thank you very much for Mandimo for this change in the evening. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to be able to speak in front of you in this precious occasion. Wish you will enjoy and remain healthy in the middle of pandemic. Spirit for us. I am here as one of the academicians who has been involved in vocational higher education for 6 years, participating in policy decision making in my own university and the National Vocational Higher Education Forum. Since 6 years ago, vocational higher education has dramatically improved for the better. Yeah, it used to be more academic than vocational, and there were times their existence was a crisis areas next to the academic degrees. Nowadays, vocational higher education has gradually soared high and has been increasingly eager to carve out its own position in our national education by showing its true colors. We recently also have our representatives in Ministry of Education specialists in vocational higher education that fight for its future and establish a strong foundation for the national higher education. As a Vice Dean of Student and Academic Affairs in Faculty of Vocational Studies, Universitas Airlangga, Indonesia, I'm truly happy to find out that finally we have a separate directorate in the Ministry of Education, specially taking care of vocational higher education. Today, we are supporting our Minister of Education policy, Merdeka Belajar, that is giving a freedom for students to study across disciplines and outside campus by doing internships, volunteers, and various projects in community. We think that this policy is also in line with the concept of vocational education that expects students to build connection with community and industries. So in Indonesia, with the same zone for the pandemic, is no problem to practical work in the volunteer, like the hospital and so for the community services in pandemic of COVID-19. Thus, we were gradually supporting our government to implement this policy in our campus and educating our staffs and students about this policy. We are also strengthening our link and match with industry to create dual learning system where students do not only learn in classes but also directly learn and work in real working environment. This is to build stronger synergy with industries in producing well-trained laborers and the end of the student study, so that companies can hire well-trained fresh graduates that might be equal to experienced permanent employees. At this point, both universities and industrials are benefited. We get faster, well-trained human resources, and we do expect this kind of education system can boost national economic growth. The role of vocational higher education does not stop here. Together with our academicians and universities, we are also strengthening our partnership with micro, small, and medium enterprises as an example of link and match with industries to develop products and supporting universities in knowledge transfer to students. In the past, vocational higher education did not have particular position in the government. We were in the same directorate with other academic higher educational degrees. But now we have our own directorate that becomes our hopes to lead us correcting our vocational education foundation and strengthening connection with industries. We realize that our government has started to open doors to our vocational higher education. In the future, we hope that this collective effort can also tremendously contribute positive outcome to the national development. But I think digitalization on skill base is opportunity for us. Together we can achieve greater. That's all from me. Salam, bangga vokasi. Vokasi hebat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Rina Asari. Thank you very much. Last but not least, Professor Dr. Sasha Bosacki, Vice Dean of Faculty Business, Program Coordinator, Corporate Management at University of Applied Sciences Europe in Germany. Let's listen to Professor Dr. Sasha Bosacki for 3 minutes.
You're on mute? Very sorry.
Thank you very much for inviting me and letting me speak in such an audience and with the other lecturers. Thank you very much. In preparation of this conference, you have seen my backdrop. I have posted a screenshot from our landing page of my university. We have to give a UE study guarantee to students. You can start online or on campus, but you can be guaranteed that you can commence your education and finish your education, because right now we are living in a time of a lot of uncertainty, and people don't really know whether they can come to Germany, whether they have to go back to their home country, whether they get infected and have to stay in quarantine. So digitalization is really helping us in the moment to continue with our skill-based education. Now, we are a University of Applied Science. Competency-based education, skill-based education was always something that we strove for. Not so much the academic side, but the practitioner view. For example, I teach corporate management, and I'm the program leader for the corporate management program. So the questions that drive our students and us in designing the curriculum was always how to equip our students with a skill set to be successful in corporate management. Another question is how to digitize all these skills. And that really is a very interesting question that has been discussed for a long time previous to COVID-19. Digitalization really opens the door to a lot of scale effects. You can reach much more students than if you have face-to-face sessions in the classroom. On the other hand, I do not see it as a panacea, as many skills you need in corporate management are very hard to actually teach in a digital environment. I wholeheartedly agree with Callistus that the technology has come a long way. Maybe the first step was a telegraph line back 100 years ago that enabled people to communicate over a distance. Yet I don't think we have made that much progress. We have been teaching the whole last semester online. We tried to pursue our digital education, and in some subject matters, it was easier. The art and design students of our faculty of our department, they have great tools. Designing together over the internet is maybe easier than simulating corporate management situations where you have to get feedback, talks to your employees, where you have to learn social skills. For that, the technology has to develop. What we experience now, these Zoom conferences where the picture breaks, the lack of touch, the lack of taste, the poor quality, that cannot be it. In order to experience the full benefit of the digitalization, we need more progress. We need VR goggles. We need fully digitalized avatars. We need to be able to interact and touch and feel each other as in face-to-face programs. And even then, I would bet a huge amount of money that that still does not substitute wholly the face-to-face interaction, the live experience. So digitalization is a great opportunity, especially when you have live events like this. Nothing beats a live event. When you have digitalization where you can download programs and take part in an asynchronous way, that is also good, but the live event cannot be beaten, and we need more improvements from the big tech companies or from startups. Make skill-based education easier by providing better technology.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is important. You keep about point about progress that needs to be made, because we're at a point where I said tipping points, but where do we go from here to make it even better? So thank you very much. We have now listened to all the speakers, and before we open the interaction between panelists and delegates, I'm going to open the floor to you, the panelists, to see if you have any comments, observations, or do you have a question to ask your fellow speakers? No? All good? Ready to interact with the panelists, with the delegates, I suppose? Right. I am going to go to the...
Winnie, I think John Pong had a question.
Oh, go on then, John Pong. Sorry.
No, not the question. I just want to provide some feedback to the panelists. I think it's great to hear from all of you, and I am glad to hear that all of us agree that it's a great opportunity rather than threat or delusion or panacea. I agree that right now we have more options, and more options means it's good, but I think things will be developed as well. One thing that we cannot ignore is the learning behavior of students. I think it has been changed. Like I can see, even students in kindergarten, they also have to do online, in which we might thought that it was impossible before the COVID-19. But as of now, students in every level, they are familiar with digitalization. So this is not only the opportunity, but probably the obligation in the near future, because learners' behavior has been changed. So I think it's a question of how we better accommodate and better provide tools and learning experiences for students. And I agree with many of you who said that sometimes it cannot be substitute to face-to-face or very hands-on experiences. So the hybrid mode would be one of the options that we can implement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Grace, you have Grace, and then Sasha.
Okay, thank you very much. My question to other TVET practitioners. You find that in TVET, most of the programs are practical based. So my interest would be, how are they handling the practical lessons online, apart from YouTube and simulation? Thank you.
Anyone? We'll park this question. Is maybe there will be answers from the audience. So Sasha, would you like to take it?
Yeah, I cannot answer the question, unfortunately, but I would wanted to connect to John Pong and the learning behavior. And this is also something that I viewed with our students coming, that although they are very much familiar with all the digital tools, yet accommodating to the learning behavior is quite, it's a little, it seems like that students want gamification, want easier and easier learning material. However, on the other hand, I see that the world is not getting any easier. Digital tools may seem easy, but the world is as complex and even more complex as it always has been. So making education more palpable for students of that generation, while at the same time equipping them with grasping the complexity of the world, which is absolutely necessary only because new business models come by solving problems in a complex environment. If students cannot grasp complexity, how will they come up with new ways of thinking? And that is, I think, one of the challenges of digitalization, how to approach that with a new generation.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to move to the audience. And if you wish to ask the question, please raise your hand, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and also make sure that you ask your questions or you make your comments within 5 sentences, 10 maximum. So we have quite a lot of attendees, as you can see, so don't be shy. We have a really, really strong panel. Yes, Reina. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, can you
okay.
start? Yep.
Okay, yeah. For the digitalization, I think need technologies. I think not enough. We can need the more competency, not only for student, but for the lecturer, I think, because all of the activity in learning process using digital, but I think not all of the teacher familiar with the digital technology, but I think with the workshop and so for the study, for the collaboration together, for the substitute for the competency of the digital process. But for the creativity, I want to share about the practical work in my country, especially in my university, for the practical work. But I think we have the 21 study programs, yeah, in the health area, in the business area, and so in the engineering area. Maybe for the health area, it's very, very trending occasion for the implementation of the practical work in the community for the volunteers for the COVID-19, because some of the hospital need all of the my students for the practical work in the hospital, like maybe for the radiologic program, for the nursing program, for laboratorium program. We hospital invite my student to help the development for the helping for the COVID-19. But I think it is a very one example for the practical work, I think, like this. But like the maybe for the tourism, maybe some student we can practical work in the village, in the own village, not must to join with the campus, because my campus with the center of the Java, but maybe we can do something practical work in the own village. Yeah, I think like this, the example of practical work in Indonesia based on the own village of the students, like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Rina. Can we go back to one of the questions that Grace raised earlier? And Grace, you put it in such a beautiful way. Would you like to sort of post your questions before you finish your 3 minutes? You have a question for the audience and you have a question for everyone. Would you like to repeat it, just that for us? You're on mute.
My interest was to know the scenarios in different countries or the individual perception on how digitization is in their countries, and is it affecting the trainer, the trainee, or the graduate? Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Anyone? Don't be shy. You can jump in. Come on, Sasha, go.
Sorry for jumping. Well, I think in Germany, digitalization, actually, we have the infrastructure. We have one of the best connectivities in the world, as recent research has shown. Yet I think Germans are a bit conservative, as we are a very, as the infrastructure is very well developed and we are a very densely populated country. People have not really seen the need for digitalization in skill-based education so far. I think we are just at the starting point now. With the COVID-19, people are seeing the advantages and the necessities. So it's maybe a little too early to answer Grace's question. We have the infrastructure, we have everything, but the mindset is not here yet. On the other hand, we see that it is hard. We have African students from Africa, Asia, and South America, and sometimes in some areas, the infrastructure is not as good to actually take part in an online program because of internet failure, which also happens in Germany from time to time. But apart from that, the mindset kind of needs to change. That is where we are at here in Germany, basically.
It's interesting. Can I go deeper into that? Even with COVID, it hasn't sort of turned the mindset or challenged the mindset?
It is happening. It is happening. It is happening right now, but people are, well, you all know that people think, oh, it's going to be over in just a few months. No, it's not over. And now we have schools actually preparing for this scenario. And we are, Germany is a very federalistic country. So in some areas, schools are very well prepared in universities. We are a private university. We had to prepare. We had to be quick. We had to set up a digitalization in 2 weeks. Otherwise, we lose students and we lose our livelihoods. State universities, on the other hand, they were not as well prepared. In state universities, professors just recorded 1.5-hour lectures on PowerPoint and sent that out to students. There was no live interaction. There was little communication with the students. So if you don't have to, you have not moved so far. And the mindset is changing slowly.
Thank you. We just have a question that comes in from Cordelia Mason. And she says she's been teaching for over 30 years and is struggling with online classes due to lack of competence to engage students in the digitized platforms. So experience, comments from our speakers. Do you have a solution? Do you have advice?
answer.
It is a tough one, though. Thank you very much, John. John, come on.
I think this is normal for all of us because this is really new for all of us, you know, to do that and to engage students. And sometimes with the large classroom, like hundreds of people, how would an instructor manage that? So I think because with the COVID-19, you know, like everyone said, you know, we have limited of time and also limited tool to prepare for this. So I'm certain that many of us, especially the trainers, will have some struggle with the strategy as well as with the literacy, with the engagement with students, and also the trainees as well. Sometimes they also struggle with the changing learning behavior, how to learn from digital tools more efficiently, and also graduates as well, how they cope with the digital test and so on, as some of you said that digitalization is the continuous process for decades now, but with, you know, only 4 or 5 months from the past 4 or 5 months, the process is more than double, triple, and is faster than ever. So I think all of us have to adapt. One of the things that I learned from my colleagues in Thailand, that they have the social media tools to help one another on how to cope with the struggle, like, you know, how to use the tools more efficiently, what industry provide the tools for them, and how to engage. What is the techniques? You know, if you have large class, how you separate the classes, how you know do the class more efficiently, and with specific professional programs, you know, how to do it uh, better, and also with the practical experience, internships, and so on, because in many areas, you know, we cannot do internship. We have to turn it to digital. How to do it better way. I think the exchange of idea, the exchange of experiences will help, because as of now, I think no one know the best solution. We are in the learning process together all over the world. I think this is the opportunity for us to learn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are coming to the end of our conversation, and before we close, I would like to invite individual speakers to make a 1-minute final word, your last 1 minute of golden nuggets of what you want to share with us on this particular topic. And we're going to do it in reverse order. So Sasha, you spoke last, so we start with you first, and then finish off with Dr. Jung Hong. So in reverse order, and 1 minute each. Thank you. Shall we start?
Thank you. From the conversation with you and from my experience in half a year purely online teaching at my university, I can say that first of all, digitalization itself is a skill that we need to learn before we teach people how to learn skills over the digital world. So learning how to operate in a virtual world is maybe the most prime skill in the next month of COVID-19, and probably the world will never die back. So
Good advice. I'm learning. Dr. Rina?
Okay, thank you very much. From our conversation, I know whether COVID-19 is still go on. So we must improve the learning and teaching method, online learning and teaching method. So we must to improve the blended learning with the all of the study program, and so we must use the MOOC. We have to MOOC for the share our capability from the all of the audience. So digitalization must do it everyone in this moment. So spirit for us, for together, flying together, for growing together. Thank you very much.
Good advice. Thank you. Dr. Chong?
Yeah, okay, so for my wrapping up, I would say that what I shared just now was that digitization at tipping point, which means it has functionalities which are very useful, has tipped because of COVID-19. But I don't think that the full opportunity will come by focusing to be more digital. Neither I don't think it will come from focusing to be more hybrid. I think we can reap the full potential or the full opportunity by being more human-centered. And I think you heard that, that we need to be more student-centered, more human-centered in our approach. And in setting up the school, my school basically, we started off by designing the experience from the learner point of view. What do they expect 3 years before they join the school? What do they expect when they enroll? And when they come to school, what do they expect in the first 100 days? Goal setting, then how they pick up the skills, how do they practice the skills, then even designing the graduation experience and the alumni experience, which is not asking for money, but giving them what they want, what they need, which is more industry networking opportunities. So that is really what I think would really allow us to really benefit fully from the opportunities from digitization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goal setting, not easy thing to do. Grace?
Thank you very much. My final comment would be, digitization is a concept which has been perceived differently, and many people have not embraced it because they have never seen the need. But based on the COVID-19 pandemic, a number of people have realized that it is the only way to go. And many people are now accepting it. So I can say that many people were not using it because they were not ready for change. But when need arises, they now see it as a new normal, which they have to implement, and they have to use it in their day-to-day life. And you find that when people start engaging in it, like now in Kenya, a number of meetings, even for the institution, for the government, are being done online. And people are struggling in order to cope with the change. And the challenge which has been there is that many of the trainers and many of the government officials are not technically skilled, because most of them were doing these jobs without the new skills which have just come up. So they are struggling in order to cope with change, and that is why there is that element of negativity. But if people accept change and appreciate what has come, I feel that digitization will take us far in the TVET sector. Thank you.
Very well made points. Thank you, Grace. Last but not least, Dr. Jong Hong.
Yes, I'm glad to hear all the comments. I think it's valuable. For me, I think it's the opportunity and also the challenge for all of us. It's the way to learn from one another. I can see, many colleagues of mine during the past few months, they learn a lot, getting certificates from all over the world with free of charge. That has never happened before. I think this is the great opportunity for all of us to learn. It's a great opportunity, to learn from one another, from nearby, from overseas. With the digitalization, it's the opportunity to learn with the good, inexpensive lessons and so on. But the challenge is there as well. The mindset, the skills, And as Dr. Celsius Chong said, after COVID-19, we have many options. But what is the expectation of students? What should be the design for different skill-based education? And what is the goal of our education? I think this is something that we have to reconsider. And with the new normal, I think we probably, as the practitioner, we must, reinvent and also think much harder how to make it better, suitable with the time, with the change. Thank you.
Winnie, you're on mute this time. Sorry.
See, it happens. We come to the end of the conversation now. So I just want to say thank you, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I have certainly learned such a lot and took a lot of notes. Can I just invite you to, I know it's hard, but can I just invite you to put your hands together for our esteemed panel members, Dr. Jung Hong, Ms. Grace Titi, Mr. Chung, Dr. Rina, and also Dr. Sasha. Obviously to Mandy's team from AppliedHE, Mandy, Peter, and Simon, the sort of the team behind the scene, and to all of you who actually from all over the world, thank you. Mandy, back to you.
Right, thanks again to all speakers and of course Winnie, our moderator, for facilitating such an insightful discussion. It's been a pleasure and a great privilege to listen to you all. Thanks also to Education Insight UK for partnering with us on this very special AppliedHE Exchange event. And while this webinar is now coming to an end, do not worry, we have many more webinars planned. Our other regular event, Squaring the Circle debate, is scheduled for next month on Wednesday, 7th October at 9 p.m. Singapore time. Next month's debate motion is so-called soft skills are more crucial than subject knowledge. So be sure to join our speakers, Ramatu, Anil, Grace, and Dawn, and our debate master, Dr. Kevin Downing, on Wednesday, 7th October at 9 p.m. Singapore time. In fact, there is a Squaring the Circle debate every first Wednesday of the month for the rest of this year. So please mark your diary. Another of our regular series, the Fireside Chat, is held on every third Wednesday of the month with the next edition, session 5, scheduled on 21st October at 9 p.m. Singapore time. The topic of session 5 is Recruiting and Mentoring Minority Pioneers. Supported by Education Insight and Hasanuddin University of Indonesia, the Fireside Chats are a discussion-focused webinar series that bring a globally diverse group of experts to weigh in on an important current topic. Mrs. Winnie Ely is once again our moderator for the Fireside Chat series of webinars. And we're 4 very distinguished speakers from the UK, Malaysia, the United States, and Hong Kong to provide that global perspective. This slide shows you the future dates for our series of Fireside Chat, and it will go on to the end of the year. In the meantime, do check out our AppliedHE Extra News website, where you can submit your institution's news and press releases. We're pleased to announce that AppliedHE Extra News is now indexed by Google News. This means our readership is growing rapidly, and we can now truly promote you on the global stage and at no charge at all. This is great news for both readers and institutions who publish news via the AppliedHE online news platform. Also, do take a look at our AppliedHE Job Ready rating, which I mentioned at the start of this webinar. This new rating system emphasizes teaching and learning, graduate skills, employability, and interaction with industry. The rating is also non-prescriptive and can be applied to different types of institutions across different sectors, from full-fledged research universities to specialized institutions. So please drop us a line if you would like to learn more about the Job Ready ratings and how it can translate into affordable strategies for global branding and marketing. We're also in the process of launching a pilot to evaluate English as a medium of instruction, whereby we measure the quality and depth of an institution's English language program. especially for institutions from non-English speaking countries which offer English language degree programs. The AppliedHE EMI Ready Rating can be a useful internal benchmarking tool and a great marketing tool for the recruitment of international students. So do reach out to us if you would like to join the pilot. It's free and we still have some open places for certain countries. And finally, I'm pleased to announce that we will be launching AppliedHE's own social media platform called AppliedHE Future on the 1st of January of next year. A trusted social media inspired platform that connects everyone from high school to professional career to lifelong learning for the 3 E's: education, employment, and everything in between. So watch out for our pre-launch emailers, which we will be sending out next month. And last but not least, as you know, we are the new kid on the block and we're very grateful for all the support that we can get, which is why I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge once again all our very supportive webinar partners: City University of Hong Kong, Universitas Airlangga of Indonesia, Universitas Hasanuddin of Indonesia, the University of Lahore of Pakistan, Chinese Culture University of Taiwan, Changzhou Christian University of Taiwan, Pearl Academy of India, JL Education Consultants, and Education Insight UK. A big thank you for the valuable support given to AppliedHE. All right, thanks very much, everyone. However, the evening is not over yet, so please do not leave the chat room. We want you to experience a networking atmosphere that is as creative and as close as we can get to a physical networking environment. We're going to open the room now so that we can all take a Wi-Fi together. Just pretend you're in the room with all your friends, use your imagination, but please be sure to turn on your cameras, play some music, have a drink, relax, and the room is all yours. Over to you now, Peter, to get the social event started.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if it's correct, you are all now on camera. We can all see you. I'm just trying to switch on the music. And that's working now. Okay, very good. So yeah, please don't be shy. Just say hello. Hi, Cordelia. I see you again. And I see Dan and Pai Chu and other people. You can also unmute and say hi. That's also fine. Thank you very much all for joining. So it's nice to see the other side of the camera, right?
Yeah.
So any outstanding questions, something that we forgot to answer, or who loves online learning? Or maybe that's not the right question to always ask. There are pros and cons to everything, right? You can go to work while sitting in your bed. It's nice in that sense.
So Peter, you managed to get the Wi-Fi?
Yeah. We will take some. We can also grab them from our YouTube channel. So it's we can always do it later on. And we have Photoshop, so you'll all be smiling very nicely. We do publish a picture. All right. Thank you very much, people joining us from around the world. I think some person's driving their car. Drive safely, please. Yeah, good night, good afternoon, good morning. Yeah, and hopefully see you next time for one of our events.
Due in October.
In October, yes. Does anybody still want to say something? I'm the only person talking. Oh, great. Say something, please. Any friends of yours?
Cordelia?
Yeah. Nice. It was an enjoyable webinar. I learned a lot from other people there. Good luck. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Job well done.
Thank you. All right. With that, perhaps, again, good night and see you next time. And of course, the recording will be available. And if you need certificates and anything, just write to us. We're always there. Also, if you have suggestions for topics for webinars like this, we're also very open to it. So always happy to have a conversation. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Oh, thank you. See you.
Take care. Keep safe.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.